Sleeping Murder by Agatha Christie. Chapter 12. Lily Kimball. Lily Kimball spread a couple of old newspapers on the kitchen table in readiness for draining the chipped potatoes which were hissing in the pan. Humming tunelessly a popular melody of the day, she leaned forward, aimlessly studying the newsprint spread out before her. Then, suddenly she stopped humming and called, "Jim! Jim! Listen here, will you?" Jim Kimball, an elderly man of few words, was washing at the scullery sink. To answer his wife, he used his favorite monosyllable. "Ar," said Jim Kimball. "It's a piece in the paper. Will anyone with any knowledge of Helen Spenlove Halliday, nee Kennedy, communicate with Messrs. Reed and Hardy, Southampton Row? Seems to me they might be meaning Mrs. Halliday as I was in service with at St. Catherine's. Took it from Mrs. Findison, they did. She and her husband. Her name was Helen, right enough. Yeah, and she was sister to Dr. Kennedy. Him as always I ought to have had my anoids out." There was a momentary pause as Mrs. Kimball adjusted the frying chips with an expert touch. Jim Kimball was snorting into the roller towel as he dried his face. "Course it's an old paper, this," resumed Mrs. Kimball. She studied its date. "Nigh on a week or more old. Wonder what it's all about. Think there's any money in it, Jim?" Mr. Kimball said "R" noncommittally. "Might be a will or something," speculated his wife. "Powerful lot of time ago." "R." 18 years or more, I shouldn't wonder. Wonder what they're raking it all up for now. You don't think it could be police, do you, Jim?" "Whatever for?" asked Mr. Kimball. "Well, you know what I always thought," said Mrs. Kimball mysteriously. "Told you all the time I did, when we was walking out, pretending that she'd gone off with a feller. That they say husbands when they do their wives in. Depend on it, it was murder. That's what I said to you, and that's what I said to Edie, but Edie said she wouldn't have it at any price. Never no imagination, Edie hadn't. Those clothes she was supposed to have took away with her, well, they weren't right, if you know what I mean. There was a suitcase gone and a bag, and enough clothes to fill 'em, but they wasn't right, those clothes. And that's what I said to Edie, depend on it. I said, the masters murdered her and put her in the cellar. Only not really the cellar, because that Leonie, the Swiss nurse, she saw something, out the window. Come to the cinema along of me she did, and she wasn't supposed to leave the nursery. But there, I said, the child never wakes up. Good as gold she was always in her bed at night. And Madam never comes up to the nursery in the evening, I says. Nobody will know if you slip out with me. So she did. And when we got in, there was ever such a schmozzle going on. Doctor was there, and the master was ill and sleeping in the dressing room, and the doctor looking after him, and it was then he asked me about the clothes, and it seemed all right at the time. I thought she'd gone off all right with that fellow she was so keen on, and him a married man, too. And Edie said she did hope and pray we wouldn't be mixed up in any divorce case. Oh, what was his name now? Can't remember. Began with an M, or was it an R? Bless us, your memory does go. Mr. Kimball came in from the scullery and, ignoring all matters of lesser moment, demanded if his supper was ready. "I'll just drain the chips. Wait, I'll get another paper. Better keep this one. 'Twouldn't likely be the police, not after all this time. Maybe it's lawyers and money in it. It doesn't say anything to our advantage, but it might be all the same. Wish I knew who I could ask about it. It says to write to some address in London, but I'm not sure I'd like to do a thing like that. Not to a lot of people in London. What do you say, Jim?" "R," said Mr. Kimball, hungrily eyeing the fish and chips. The discussion was postponed. Chapter 13. Walter Fane. Gwenda looked across the broad mahogany desk at Mr. Walter Fane. She saw a rather tired-looking man of about 50, with a gentle, nondescript face. The sort of man, Gwenda thought, that you would find it a little difficult to recollect if you had just met him casually. A man who, in modern phrase, lacked personality. His voice, when he spoke, was slow and careful and pleasant. Probably, Gwenda decided, a very sound lawyer. She stole a glance round the office of the senior partner of the firm. It suited Walter Fane, she decided. It was definitely old-fashioned. The furniture was shabby, but it was made up of good, solid Victorian material. There were deed boxes piled up against the walls, boxes with respectable county names on them. Sir John Vavasour Trench, Lady Jessup, Arthur Fawkes Esquire deceased. The big sash window, the panes of which were rather dirty, looked into a square backyard flanked by the solid walls of a 17th century adjoining house. There was nothing smart or up-to-date anywhere, but there was nothing sordid either. It was superficially an untidy office with its piled-up boxes, and its littered desk, and its row of law books leaning crookedly on a shelf. But it was actually the office of someone who knew exactly where to lay his hand upon anything he wanted. The scratching of Walter Fane's pen ceased. He smiled his slow, pleasant smile. "I think that's all quite clear, Mrs. Reed," he said. "A very simple will. When would you like to come in and sign it?" Gwenda said whenever he liked. There was no particular hurry. "We've got a house down here, you know," she said. "Hillside." Walter Fane said, glancing down at his notes. "Yes, you gave me the address." There was no change in the even tenor of his voice. "It's a very nice house," said Gwenda. "We love it." "Indeed," Walter Fane smiled. "Is it on the sea?" "No," said Gwenda. "I believe the name has been changed. It used to be St. Catherine's." Mr. Fane took off his pince-nez. He polished them with a silk handkerchief, looking down at the desk. "Oh, yes," he said, "on the Lehampton Road?" He looked up, and Gwenda thought how different people who habitually wear glasses look without them. His eyes, a very pale gray, seemed strangely weak and unfocused. "It makes his whole face look," thought Gwenda, "as though he isn't really there." Walter Fane put on the pince-nez again. He said in his precise lawyer's voice, "I think you said you did make a will on the occasion of your marriage?" "Yes, but I'd left things in it to various relatives in New Zealand who have died since, so I thought it would be simpler, really, to just make a new one altogether, especially as we mean to live permanently in this country." Walter Fane nodded. "Yes, quite a sound view to take. Well, I think this is all quite clear, Mrs. Reed. Perhaps if you come in the day after tomorrow, will 11 o'clock suit you?" "Yes, that will be quite all right." Gwenda rose to her feet, and Walter Fane rose also. Gwenda said, with exactly the little rush she had rehearsed beforehand, I asked specifically for you because I believe that you once knew my mother." "Indeed?" Walter Fane put a little additional social warmth into his manner. "What was her name?" "Halliday. Megan Halliday. I think I've been told that you were once engaged to her?" A clock on the wall ticked. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Gwenda suddenly felt her heart beating a little faster. What a very quiet face Walter Fane had. You might see a house like that. A house with all the blinds pulled down. That would mean a house with a dead body in it. What an idiotic thought you do have, Gwenda. Walter Fane, his voice unchanged, unruffled, said, "No, I never knew your mother, Mrs. Reed. But I was once engaged for a short period to Helen Kennedy, who afterwards married Major Halliday as his second wife." "Oh, I see. How stupid of me. I've got it all wrong. It was Helen, my stepmother. Of course, it's all long before I remember. I was only a child when my father's second marriage broke up. But I heard someone say that you'd once been engaged to Mrs. Halliday in India. I thought, of course, it was my own mother because of India, I mean. My father met her in India." "Helen Kennedy came out to India to marry me," said Walter Fane. "Then she changed her mind. On the boat going home, she met your father." It was a plain, unemotional statement of fact. Gwenda still had the impression of a house with the blinds down. "I'm so sorry," she said. "Have I put my foot in it?" Walter Fane smiled. His slow, pleasant smile. The blinds were up. "It's 19 or 20 years ago, Mrs. Reed," he said. "One's youthful troubles and follies don't mean much after that space of time. So you're Halliday's baby daughter. You know, don't you, that your father and Helen actually lived here in Dilmouth for a while?" "Oh, yes," said Gwenda. "That's really why we came here. I didn't remember it properly, of course, but when we had to decide where we'd live in England, I came to Dilmouth first of all, to see what it was really like, and I thought it was such an attractive place that I decided we'd park ourselves right here and nowhere else. And wasn't it luck? We've actually got the same house that my people lived in long ago." "I remember the house," said Walter Fane. Again, he gave that slow, pleasant smile. "You may not remember me, Mrs. Reed, but I rather imagine I used to give you piggybacks once." Gwenda laughed. "Did you really? Then you're quite an old friend, aren't you? I can't pretend I remember you, but then I was only about 2.5 or 3, I suppose. Were you back on leave from India or something like that?" "No, I chucked India for good. I went out to try tea planting, but the life didn't suit me. I was cut out to follow my father's footsteps and be a prosy, unadventurous country solicitor. I'd passed all my law exams earlier, so I simply came back and went straight into the firm." He paused and said, "I've been here ever since." Again, there was a pause, and he repeated in a lower voice, "Yes, ever since." But 18 years, thought Gwenda, isn't really such a long time as all that. Then, with a change of manner, he shook hands with her and said, "Since we seem to be old friends, you really must bring your husband to tea with my mother one day. I'll get her to write to you. In the meanwhile, 11 o'clock on Thursday?" Gwenda went out of the office and down the stairs. There was a cobweb in the angle of the stairway. In the middle of the web was a pale, rather nondescript spider. It didn't look, Gwenda thought, like a real spider. Not like the fat, juicy kind of spider who caught flies and ate them. It was more like a ghost of a spider. Rather like Walter Fane, in fact. Giles met his wife on the seafront. "Well?" he asked. "He was here in Dilmouth at the time," said Gwenda. "Back from India, I mean, because he gave me piggybacks. But he couldn't have murdered anyone. Not possibly. He's much too quiet and gentle. Very nice, really, but the kind of person you never really notice. You know, they come to parties, but you never notice when they leave. I should think he was frightfully upright in all of that, and devoted to his mother, and with a lot of virtues, but from a woman's point of view, terribly dull. I can see why he didn't cut any ice with Helen. You know, a nice, safe person to marry, but you don't really want to." "Poor devil," said Giles, "and I suppose he was just crazy about her." "Oh, I don't know. I shouldn't think so, really. Anyway, I'm sure he wouldn't be our malevolent murderer. He's not my idea of a murderer at all." "You really don't know a lot about murderers, though, do you, my sweet?" "What do you mean?" "Well, I was thinking about quiet Lizzie Borden, only the jury said she didn't do it. And Wallace, a quiet man whom the jury insisted did kill his wife, though the sentence was quashed on an appeal. And Armstrong, who everybody said for years was such a kind, unassuming fellow. I don't believe murderers are ever a specific, special type. I can't really believe that Walter Fane—" Gwenda stopped. "What is it?" "Nothing." But she was remembering Walter Fane polishing his eyeglasses and the queer, blind stare of his eyes when she had first mentioned St. Catherine's. "Perhaps," she said uncertainly, "he was crazy about her."